Let's get into the issues of the day now with Stephen Cenatiempo, Radio 2CC breakfast host, joining us live from Canberra. Good to see you, Stephen. Look, you would have seen these protests in Canberra over the last couple of days, the pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel protests. Their rhetoric isn't much different from what we're getting from Penny Wong and Anthony Albanese now, with Australia signing up to this letter that seems to blame all of the aid chaos on Israel and demand a ceasefire, even though Israel has a ceasefire on the table right now.
That's the frightening thing about this, Chris, and I made the comment on my program this morning that these protesters are emboldened by the federal government's position on this and the lack of action that there's been for, well, nearly 2 years now, since the 7th of October 2023, when Hamas invaded a sovereign country in Israel and murdered, raped and kidnapped 1,200 innocent Israeli civilians, some of them still in captivity. We don't know if they're alive or not. And it's always Israel that has got to lay down their arms. There is never a call for Hamas, a terrorist organisation, to lay down its arms. Now, granted, a terrorist organisation is probably not really going to enter into any proper negotiations with anyone. But, you know, to try and blame the sovereign nation that is defending itself for all of this is absolutely extraordinary. But then you got these clowns climbing on top of roofs here in Canberra. One of them called into my program yesterday and wanted to interview me live on air, and I had to explain that's not how it works. But it's the level of ignorance and the misunderstanding of history that is the thing here. I mean, you can actually get onto Google and research the history of Israel. These clowns never do that.
Yeah. Look, the other thing is what's going on now and the amount of misinformation in the media. There are people here in Australia, well-intended people, who think Israel is deliberately killing civilians, who think Israel is shooting people as they line up for aid, as if you'd go to all the trouble of lining up to feed hundreds of thousands of people aid just so you can shoot a few hundred of them. It's just insane. Yet this is the crap that the media is feeding them. And now, of course, you can find out the facts if you dig a bit deeper, but the media's got a lot to answer here for, and Penny Wong's just going along with that flow. I thought she was caught out badly today because Andrew Clennell asked her who's to blame for the problem with aid. Is it Hamas or Israel? And she refused to say, yet the statement she signed blames Israel clearly. Now, she must know that's wrong. She signed up to it, yet she wasn't prepared to say so on camera.
Yeah, but this is an ideological bent from this government, Chris. It's been pretty clear that they've been anti-Israel since they were elected a little over 3 years ago now, and it's been a dramatic shift in the Labor Party since the socialist left took over. When the Labor Party was run by the sensible right, you would never have had this kind of rhetoric. But it just comes down to the simple question, who do you believe, our democratically elected government, our partner, our ally in the Middle East, or information coming out of a terrorist organisation? And anything that's coming out of Gaza is coming from Hamas. That's the real key here.
Yet the media plays their games. They say this is the latest claim from the Gaza Health Administration or the Gazan refugee organisations. It's all Hamas, and they should be upfront about it.
Yep.
Let's bring it back to another appalling bit of governance in Australia. I called out this idea when it was first floated by Labor under Penny Wong. This is the idea of a First Nations ambassador. This is not a person representing Indigenous Australians within Australia, like some sort of individual voice. This is a person who's an ambassador to overseas countries on behalf of Indigenous people. An absolutely ludicrous idea, but they appointed a bloke. Well, he's spent so much time travelling at our expense. Have a look at the bill he's racked up, over 750 grand, 730 grand. He's had 11 days in New York in 2023, 11 days in Dubai back in 2023, then America for another 17 days last year, Paris and Geneva for a couple of weeks last year, another couple of weeks in America later last year. And this is just a little bit of it. There's been trips all around the country and elsewhere. This is indefensible. Penny Wong says, oh, he's doing good things for Australia. What, Minister? What on earth good is this doing for anyone?
It almost makes Anthony Albanese's 6-day taxpayer holiday to China look good, doesn't it? What is this bloke's job actually supposed to be? When you say you're a First Nations ambassador at large to the entire world, and most of our ambassadors are actually trying to negotiate trade agreements, or they're dealing with alliances between various countries. What is this bloke out there promoting Indigenous businesses? Is he trying to create some sort of free trade agreement between countries and the Indigenous community as opposed to Australia at large? Like, I mean, what is it this bloke actually does? And, 11 days in New York, I was thinking about this afternoon. Maybe we should get him into trying to repair the relationship with the United States, because Kevin Rudd's clearly not doing it.
Yeah, it is just extraordinary, and I hope the coalition pursue this very diligently in Senate estimates and the like, because it's a greatest example of wasteful government spending and indulgence you could ever imagine. I just want to get your thoughts on those royals that you love so much. I love this little story that's come out about King Charles. Apparently 11 of his 12 gardeners have quit Highgrove. They're not being treated well. I mean, why has he lost 11 gardeners? Are they not speaking to the plants enough for his liking?
Well, that might be the thing. So we know that His Majesty does love his plants and loves to go out and have a chat with them when he can't get sensible conversation out of anyone else. So he probably takes the gardens at Highgrove a little bit more seriously than any of his predecessors did. And maybe he's a little bit heavy-handed with the gardeners. I'm not sure.
Oh, I'd love to find out. We need interviews with these gardeners to find out what the problem is. He's supposed to be very gracious to his subjects, isn't he?
Well, and look, from what I've heard, he normally is. But again, as I say, he takes the gardening pretty seriously. So he probably has a more keen eye over what the gardeners are doing than some of his other staff.
Yes, they're not speaking gently enough to his beloved plants. We'll see. We'll catch you next week, Stephen. And don't forget to listen to Stephen if you're in the capital. 2CC Breakfast Toast in Canberra. Stephen Cenatiempo.